Hey folks, today I'm in Cambridge working on a job for the New York Times. It's about Labour's plan to build 1.5 million homes over the next 5 years. I'm going to be shooting some shots in Cambridge and then heading up to a place called Northstowe, which is kind of a half-finished town on the outskirts of the city, to do some pictures there as well. It's pretty sunny today, it's quite hot, I'm probably going to get sunburnt and I might have to wait until a little bit later for some better light to do these landscape shots. But yeah, we'll see what happens. So I'm going to try a voiceover for this video to talk through what I'm doing as I'm doing it, and explain some of the thought process behind the pictures I'm making. I always find this kind of thing interesting, so I thought I'd try it out myself. Right now I'm in Cambridge. I'm looking to make some pictures of finished housing here, especially new builds or newer blocks of flats, to create some contrast between them and the unfinished buildings I'll be photographing later on. This first shot was quite nice. I could see this little vignette between the hedges, so I had to just step up on this wall to get a slightly better vantage point to see the path. I just have to wait for someone to walk through it to give the image some life, and this doesn't take too long, thankfully. This shot was fairly simple as well. I liked the strip of sunlight coming across the front of the pavement where the side road met the main road. So I had to just wait for the sun and wait for somebody to come through. And that happened with these two cyclists. Looking back on that, it was quite lucky that I managed to get the two people in white framed between the tree and the street light. Here I managed to find some ongoing construction in Cambridge. Luckily there was a stairwell across the road from this construction site, so I decided to climb it to get a better view into the site itself. So here I'm just shooting different crops, zooming in and out for a wide, a detail, waiting for some cars to come past, just to get some different options. I just take a quick picture on my phone here of the signage for caption information in case I need it later on. Here you join me in Northstowe town itself. I wait until about 6 PM to head out and shoot pictures here, as the light in the middle of the day was very harsh. That'll work alright for Cambridge, but I want the shots here to feel a little bit different. I'm basically just walking around looking for anything that catches my eye that would make an interesting picture. I see a gap between these two brick structures here where you can see the houses in the distance, and I thought that might work for a nice frame to lead the eye towards the houses. can see a house up on the right that looks like it's currently under construction, so I decide to keep going and head to that next. This building is quite easy to photograph. All the scaffolding surrounding it makes it quite interesting as it is, so it doesn't take me too long to get a frame that I'm happy with. I see a house here on the right and decide to head down this side street to photograph it from a slightly different viewpoint from the last house. I like the way the two roofs and the scaffolding poles sticking out of them create this symmetry, and the interesting thing about this house is it doesn't have any windows yet, so you can kind of see right through to the other side. I take a little while to get this shot right, so I can frame it straight but also see through most of the windows, which is quite tricky to do from ground level. That's why I'm stood so far back down this road here. It takes me a little bit of time, but I get it right eventually. The next shot I find is in this new playground. I see this wooden climbing frame that still has some fencing around it, which seemed like a nice, if maybe obvious, visual metaphor for this place. This shot is kind of hard to get right because the fencing is quite wide around the structure, and I want it to be the focus of the image but also to show some of the housing for context. I started by framing the climbing frame itself in the centre of the image, but ended up having to let it be offset and frame the fencing centered instead to balance it all out properly. I really like this shot, but it didn't end up getting used in the end. You can see me here checking Google Maps on my phone. I'm doing this pretty much constantly as I'm walking around this place, as although the imagery was slightly old, it gave me a good idea as to which paths and roads led to the outskirts of the town. I wanted to see if I could get to the edge of the town to be able to look back on the houses from afar. I was looking for this as the journalist I was working with on this assignment said that she thought it was interesting that the houses looked like they had almost sprouted from the ground when she arrived, so I wanted to try and show this somehow. Here I'm using these reeds and grasses to try and achieve a similar kind of thing. This moment here was one of my favourite parts of this trip. It felt really peaceful to be in this quiet place with the reeds swinging around in front of me in the breeze. The shot was a fun one. I managed to get a nice detail looking through the houses. It's something quite abstract with all the lines meeting each other. And then I zoom out for a wider shot, which is a more standard landscape. It's always important to me to get lots of different options when shooting this kind of thing, so a mix of closer detail shots and wider shots to help with layout and keep it varied across the story. I continue down this path here and immediately start to see the scene I had in my head for this story. Lots of houses with lovely low sun sat across a big open grassy meadow with some wildflowers growing amongst it all. I spent a little bit of time getting a few options for this and working out a crop I was happy with, and I'm glad I did. It ended up being the lead picture for the story and was used across digital and print pretty extensively, appearing on the cover of the business section a few days later. That seems like a good place to end this video. Thanks for sticking around if you're still here. I hope it was interesting or informative for you and maybe gave you a bit of insight into what a job like this actually looks like when you're doing it in real time.